Hey everyone, throwaway account for obvious reasons. My name is Dave, and I've been married to Lisa for 12 years. We've got 2 kids, Jimmy 10 and Emma 7. Life seemed perfect at least, that's what I thought. Little did I know, my wife had been cheating on me with her so-called friend from the gym. Lisa and I met in college, and she was the kind of girl who lit up the room. Smart, funny, and incredibly beautiful. We got married right after graduation, and everything seemed great. I thought we had the kind of marriage others envied. Boy, was I wrong. A few months ago, I started noticing Lisa acting strange. She was on her phone constantly, whispering and giggling. Whenever I asked her what was so funny, she'd brush it off with some lame excuse like just a funny meme or my friend sent a joke. I didn't think much of it at first, but the late nights out and the constant need to work out started raising red flags. Then, one night, I saw her sneaking back into the house around midnight. I pretended to be asleep but kept one eye open. She reeked of someone else's cologne. I knew something was up, but I didn't have the proof yet. I'm not proud of it, but I installed some small cameras around the house. Desperate times call for desperate measures, right? Within a week, I had all the evidence I needed. The cameras caught her sneaking out to meet up with her lover, a guy named Mark, who worked at the gym. A real sleaze, always giving off that nice guy vibe while clearly being anything but. When I confronted Lisa, she had the audacity to lie right to my face. She denied everything, even when I showed her the footage. It wasn't tea until I threatened to show it to our kids that she broke down and confessed. She cried, begged for forgiveness, and swore it was over. But trust, once shattered, is nearly impossible to rebuild. I bided my time, waiting for the right moment. I wanted to make sure she had really ended it with Mark, but old habits die hard. Last week, I caught her sneaking out again. That was it for me. I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. I used my combat experience to quietly break into Mark S.'s house. I waited in the shadows until he was alone, then made my move. I coughed loudly, and he opened his eyes, groggy and confused. Before he could react, I took out a bat and shattered both his legs. His screams were satisfying, a symphony of justice. "Well, bastard, you didn't expect that, did you?" I sneered. "Unfortunately for you, I have my own sense of justice." To emphasize my point, I punched him in the groin, hearing the bones crunch as his pelvis shattered. Lisa had lied to me for the last time. Now, it was her turn to face the music. And this is just the beginning. There are a lot more unexpected twists to come. So after giving Mark a taste of justice, I drove home, my mind racing. I wasn't done yet. I needed to confront Lisa and lay everything out in the open. No more lies, no more deceit. It was time for the truth. When I got home, Lisa was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone like nothing had happened. I stood in the doorway watching her for a moment, trying to understand how she could lie to my face and then go on like everything was normal. "Lisa, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady but firm. She looked up, her eyes widening with surprise. "Dave, what's wrong? You're scaring me. Scaring you? Really?" I laughed bitterly. "You don't even know the half of it." I threw my phone on the table, playing the footage of her sneaking out to meet Mark. Her face went pale as she watched herself, a deer caught in the headlights. "I know everything, Lisa. I know you are still seeing him," I said coldly. She started to cry, big crocodile tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry, Dave. I thought it was over, but I don't know. I got weak." "Weak? Weak is cheating on your husband while he's home with your kids, thinking everything is fine. Weak is lying to my face over and over again," I spat. "How long did you think you could keep this up?" Lisa sobbed harder, but I wasn't moved. "I don't know. I was confused. I never meant to hurt you." I shook my head, feeling nothing but anger and betrayal. "Well, you did. You hurt me. You hurt our kids. And you've destroyed everything we built together. I want to fix this, Dave. Please. Let's go to counseling." "I'll do anything," she begged, clutching my arm. I pulled away, disgusted. "Do you think counseling is going to fix this? You think a few therapy sessions will erase the fact that you've been sleeping with another man?" She tried to argue, but I wasn't listening. I had my own sense of justice, and I was going to make sure she felt every bit of pain she had inflicted on me. "Pack your things and get out," I ordered. "Dave, please. What about the kids? We can just..." I'll take care of the kids. You need to leave. Now. Lisa's tears dried up quickly when she realized I wasn't bluffing. She nodded, defeated, and went upstairs to pack her bags. I watched her go, feeling a twisted sense of satisfaction. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. As Lisa packed, I thought about the future. I had always been the steady one, the reliable husband and father. Now, I needed to be strong for Jimmy and Emma. They didn't deserve any of this. A few hours later, Lisa came down with her suitcase. She looked at me, her eyes red and puffy. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care. Go to your parents, go to a friend's house. Just get out, I replied, my voice void of any emotion. She stood there for a moment like she wanted to say something else, but thought better of it. She left without another word, and I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness as the door closed behind her. I sat down on the couch, the silence of the house pressing down on me. This was just the beginning of a long road ahead. I had to figure out how to explain all of this to the kids, how to rebuild my life without the woman I thought I'd grow old with. But for now, I just sat there feeling the weight of everything that had happened. The lies, the betrayal, the violence. It was a lot to process, but I knew one thing for sure: I was done being the fool. And Lisa? Well, she was about to find out just how far I was willing to go for my own sense of justice. After kicking Lisa out, I had to figure out how to tell our kids, Jimmy and Emma, what was happening. They were smart kids, and I knew they'd figure out something was wrong soon enough. I just wanted to make sure they heard it from me. That Saturday morning, I sat them down in the living room. Jimmy, with his serious expression, and Emma, clutching her favorite stuffed animal, looked at me with wide, worried eyes. "Dad, what's going on? Where is Mom?" Jimmy asked, his voice trembling slightly. I took a deep breath. "Kids, I need to tell you something important. Your mom and I are going to be living apart for a while." "Are you getting a divorce?" Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I nodded, trying to keep my own emotions in check. "Yes, sweetie, we are. Your mom made some choices that hurt our family, and we need some time apart to figure things out." "Did she do something bad?" Jimmy asked, his eyes narrowing. I hesitated, not wanting to burden them with too much detail. "She made some mistakes, yes, but that doesn't change how much she loves you both, and it doesn't change how much I love you." Emma started to cry, and I pulled her onto my lap, holding her close. "It is going to be okay, Emma. We're going to get through this together." Jimmy looked down at his feet, his face a mix of confusion and anger. "I don't understand. Why can't we just stay together and fix it? Sometimes things get broken in ways that can be fixed no matter how much we want to," I said softly. "But I promise you, we're going to be okay." We spent the rest of the day together trying to find some semblance of normalcy. We played board games, watched movies, and I even let them have ice cream for dinner. Anything to make them smile, even if it was just for a little while. That night, after tucking the kids into bed, I sat alone in the living room, staring at the dark TV screen. The house felt so empty without Lisa's presence, despite everything. I couldn't stop thinking about how things had gotten so messed up. My phone buzzed, breaking the silence. It was a text from Lisa. I hadn't heard from her since she left, and part of me didn't want to read it. But curiosity got the better of me. "Dave, I'm staying with my sister for now. I know you're angry and I understand, but I need to see the kids. Please, let's figure out a schedule." I stared at the message, my emotions a tangled mess. I hated her for what she did, but I couldn't deny that the kids needed their mom. I took a deep breath and replied, "We'll talk about it tomorrow." The next day, Lisa came over to talk. It was tense and awkward, but we managed to come up with a plan. She'd see the kids on weekends, and we'd alternate holidays. It was the best we could do under the circumstances. As much as I hated seeing her, I couldn't deny the kids their mother. Despite everything, I wanted to do what was best for them. Lisa seemed genuinely remorseful, but I wasn't ready to forgive. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But for now, I had to focus on the kids and making sure they felt loved and secure, even if everything else was falling apart. After Lisa left, I took the kids out for pizza, trying to create some new happy memories. We laughed, ate too much, and for a few hours it almost felt like everything was normal. But as I watched Jimmy and Emma, I knew that things would never be the same again. The trust was broken, the family shattered. All I could do was pick up the pieces and try to build something new, something stronger, and maybe, just maybe, find some way to move on from the betrayal that had torn my life apart. So, after getting through that tough weekend with the kids, life started to take on a new routine. Lisa and I kept things civil for Jimmy and Emma Isak, but the trust between us was completely shattered. A couple of weeks went by, and I began noticing little things that made me think Lisa wasn't as remorseful as she appeared. Her social media was active again, and while we weren't friends on those platforms anymore, mutual acquaintances would tell me they saw her out and about, living it up like she didn't have a care in the world. One day I got a call from my buddy Mike. He had seen Lisa out at a bar with Mark, looking pretty cozy. My blood boiled. She had promised me she was done with him, but it seemed like that was just another one of her lies. I decided I needed to confront her, not for my sake, but for the kids. They deserved a mother who was present and honest, not one who was sneaking around. So, I arranged to meet Lisa at a coffee shop, a neutral place where we could talk without causing a scene. She walked in, looking nervous. "Dave, what's this about?" I took a deep breath, trying to keep my anger in check. "I heard you've been seeing Mark again." She looked away, unable to meet my eyes. "It's not what you think. We just ran into each other." "Cut the crap, Lisa. I am done with the lies. You told me it was over, but here you are, out with him again." "What am I supposed to tell the kids? That their mom can keep her promises?" Tears welled up in her eyes, but I wasn't falling for it this time. "I am sorry, Dave. I don't know how to let go." "Let go? You are the one who destroyed our family for him. You don't get to play the victim here." She sobbed, and for a moment I almost felt bad for her. But then I remembered the pain she caused, the lies, the betrayal. "I need you to be honest with me for once. Are you still seeing him?" She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, I can help it. I know it is wrong, but I love him." Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. "Love? You call that love? You've thrown away everything we had for what? A fling with some gym rat?" Lisa's sobs grew louder, drawing the attention of other patrons. I leaned in, lowering my voice. "You need to make a choice, Lisa. Either you end it with him for good or you walk away from the kids. They don't need this in their lives. I can to just stop seeing him," she whispered. "Then you've made your choice." "I'll be filing for full custody," I said, standing up to leave. I hope he was worth it. As I walked out of the coffee shop, I felt a mix of anger and sadness. I had given Lisa every chance to make things right, but she had chosen her path. Now I had to focus on protecting my kids from the fallout. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of legal battles and emotional upheaval. I filed for full custody, and the court hearings were grueling. Lisa fought back, but the evidence of her continued affair and her unstable behavior worked in my favor. In the end, the judge awarded me full custody, with Lisa getting supervised visitation. It was a bittersweet victory. I had won, but at what cost? My kids would grow up with a fractured family, their mother a distant presence in their lives. One night, after the court ruling, I found myself alone in the living room, surrounded by the remnants of our life together. The kids were asleep upstairs and the house was eerily quiet. I thought about everything that had happened, how quickly things had unraveled. It was then that I realized I needed to make a fresh start. This house, filled with memories of Lisa and our life together, was a constant reminder of the betrayal. I decided to sell the house and move somewhere new, somewhere the kids and I could begin to heal and rebuild our lives. The next morning, I broke the news to Jimmy and Emma. They were sad, of course, but they understood. "Will Mom come with us?" Emma asked, her big eyes filled with hope. I shook my head, pulling her into a hug. "No, sweetie, but we'll visit her and she'll always be your mom." As we packed up our things, I felt a strange sense of relief. It was the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. I knew there would be more challenges ahead, but for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful. Moving day was tough, but we got through it. Our new home was smaller, cozier, and most importantly, it was free of painful memories. We started fresh, just the three of us, and slowly, we began to heal. Lisa continued to see the kids during her supervised visits, but her presence in our lives became less and less significant. She was a shadow of the woman I had once loved, consumed by her own choices. As for me, I focused on being the best father I could be. I poured my energy into work, hobbies, and spending quality time with Jimmy and Emma. We laughed, played, and found joy in the little things. Life wasn't perfect, but it was ours. And as I tucked my kids into bed each night, I knew that no matter what happened, we would be okay. After the move, things slowly started to settle into a new normal. Our new home was smaller, but it felt right. It was a fresh start, a place where the kids and I could begin to rebuild our lives away from the memories of Lisa's betrayal. Jimmy and Emma adapted faster than I expected. Kids are resilient, much more than adults give them credit for. They made friends in the new neighborhood, started at their new schools, and seemed to be genuinely happy. It was a relief to see them smiling and laughing again. I, on the other hand, found it a bit harder to adjust. Every now and then, I'd catch myself thinking about the past, about Lisa and the life we once had. But those moments became less frequent as time went on. One weekend, I decided to take the kids to the zoo. It was something we used to do as a family, and I wanted to recreate those happy memories without the shadow of Lisa hanging over us. Jimmy and Emma were thrilled, especially Emma, who had a soft spot for animals. We spent the day exploring, visiting every exhibit, and eating way too much junk food. At one point, as we stood in front of the giraffe enclosure, Emma tugged at my sleeve. "Daddy, can we come here every year?" I smiled down at her. "Of course, sweetie, we'll make it a tradition." Jimmy, ever the serious one, looked up at me. "Even if Mom is not with us?" I knelt down to his level, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Yes, Jimmy, even if Mom's not with us. We are still a family, and we'll always have each other." As we made our way to the lion exhibit, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Lisa. She had been trying to reach out more frequently, wanting to see the kids outside of her supervised visits. I understood her desire, but I wasn't ready to trust her again. "Can I see the kids this weekend? Maybe we can have a family day?" the text read. I sighed, conflicted. The kids deserved to have a relationship with their mother, but I didn't want to give her false hope about us getting back together. After a few moments, I replied, "Let's talk about it later." That evening, after the kids were in bed, I called Lisa. The conversation was tense, as most of our interactions had been since the divorce. "Lisa, I got your message. I understand you want to see the kids more, but we need to take this slow. They're just starting to adjust to everything," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "I know, Dave. I just miss them so much." "I miss us," she replied, her voice breaking. "Lisa, you made your choices. We can go back to how things were, but I'll work with you to make sure you are a part of the kids' lives," I said firmly. She was silent for a moment. "I understand. Can I at least see them for dinner next weekend?" "Okay, but it has to be somewhere public." "We're not ready for anything more yet," I agreed. The following weekend, we met at a local restaurant. It was awkward at first, but the kids were excited to see their mom. They chatted away, telling her about school, their new friends, and our trip to the zoo. Lisa listened, smiling and laughing, but I could see the sadness in her eyes. As we left the restaurant, Lisa pulled me aside. "Thank you, Dave. I know this isn't easy. It's not about us, Lisa. It's about the kids. They need their mom," I said, keeping my distance. She nodded, wiping away a tear. "I'll do whatever it takes to make this work." As we drove home, Jimmy and Emma chattered in the back seat, their excitement contagious. I realized then that despite everything, we were finding our way. We were creating new memories, building a new life, one step at a time. The months that followed were a mix of highs and lows. Lisa and I managed to co-parent effectively, though our interactions remained strained. I focused on my job, poured my energy into hobbies, and even started going to a local gym to stay in shape. It was there that I met Sarah. Sarah was one of the trainers, and we struck up a conversation one day after a particularly grueling workout. She was smart, funny, and had a way of making me forget about the past. Over time, our friendship grew, and I found myself looking forward to our chats at the gym. One evening after a long day at work, I ran into Sarah in the parking lot. "Hey, Dave, how's it going?" she asked, her smile brightening my mood. "Hey, Sarah. Just trying to keep up with everything," I replied, feeling a warmth in her presence. "You're doing great, I can tell." "You've come a long way," she said, her eyes sincere. We stood there talking for a while, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, there was a future where I could find happiness again. A future where the past didn't define me, and where new beginnings were possible. As I drove home that night, I realized that while the road ahead was still uncertain, I was ready to embrace whatever came next. For myself and for my kids, we were stronger than we knew, and together, we could face anything. Meeting Sarah had given me a sense of hope that I hadn't felt in a long time. She was a breath of fresh air, and our friendship quickly became something I looked forward to. It wasn't long before I realized that I had feelings for her, but I was cautious. The wounds from Lisa S. betrayal were still fresh, and I didn't want to rush into anything. One Saturday afternoon, Sarah invited me and the kids to a barbecue at her place. It was a small gathering with a few of her friends, and it seemed like a good opportunity to introduce her to Jimmy and Emma in a casual setting. The kids were excited, especially Emma, who loved meeting new people. As we arrived, Sarah greeted us with her usual bright smile. "Hey, Dave! Hi, Jimmy and Emma! I am so glad you could make it." The kids immediately took to Sarah. She had a way with them, making them laugh and feel comfortable. We spent the afternoon eating, playing games, and enjoying the company. At one point, I found myself watching Sarah interact with the kids, feeling a sense of warmth and admiration. She was kind, genuine, and everything I had been missing. Later, as the sun began to set, Sarah and I sat on the porch while the kids played in the yard. "Thanks for inviting us, Sarah. The kids are having a blast," I said, taking a sip of my drink. "I'm glad. They are great kids, Dave. You've done an amazing job with them," she replied, her eyes reflecting sincerity. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment before Sarah spoke again. "Dave, I know things have been tough for you, and I don't want to overstep, but I really enjoy spending time with you. And I think there could be something more here." I looked at her, feeling a mix of emotions. "Sarah, I like you too, more than I've liked anyone in a long time, but I'm still healing. I don't want to rush into anything and end up getting hurt again." She reached out, placing her hand on mine. "I understand, Dave. We can take things slow. There's no rush. I just wanted you to know how I feel. For the first time since my marriage fell apart, I felt a genuine connection. It was scary, but it was also exciting." "Okay, let's take it slow and see where things go," I said, smiling. As the evening wore on, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in a long time. Maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for happiness again. The following weeks were a whirlwind of work, kids, and spending time with Sarah. We continued to take things slow, enjoying each other's company and getting to know one another better. The kids adored her, and she quickly became a regular part of our lives. One evening, after putting the kids to bed, I sat down with Sarah in the living room. "I've been thinking about us, about everything," I began, feeling a mix of nervousness and excitement. "What's on your mind?" she asked, her eyes filled with curiosity. "I want to give this a real shot, Sarah. I know we said we'd take it slow, but I can't deny how much I care about you," I admitted, my heart pounding. She smiled, a look of relief washing over her. "I care about you too, Dave. I'm glad you feel the same way." We spent the rest of the evening talking, laughing, and planning for the future. It felt good to finally move forward, to let go of the past and embrace what was to come. But life has a funny way of throwing curveballs just when you think you've got everything figured out. A few weeks later, I got a call from Lisa. She sounded distraught, her voice shaky. "Dave, I need to talk to you. It's important." I felt a pang of dread. "What is it, Lisa?" "It's about Mark. He's been arrested," she said, her voice breaking. I was stunned. "Arrested? For what?" She hesitated before continuing. He's been involved in some illegal activities. I didn't know, I swear. But now I'm scared, Dave. I don't know what to do. I took a deep breath, trying to process the information. Lisa, I'll help you as much as I can, but you need to understand that this doesn't change anything between us. We are over. I know, Dave, I need to figure out what to do next. Can we meet and talk? Reluctantly, I agreed. We arranged to meet at a coffee shop the next day. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I knew I had to hear her out for the sake of our kids. The next day, as I sat across from Lisa, I could see the fear and uncertainty in her eyes. Dave, I am so sorry for everything. I know I messed up, but I never thought things would get this bad. I listened as she explained the situation. Mark had been involved in some serious criminal activities, and now she was caught up in the mess. She was terrified of what might happen next, and didn't know how to protect herself or the kids. Lisa, you need to contact a lawyer and sort this out. I'll help with the kids, but you need to take responsibility for your choices, I said firmly. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, Dave. I know I don't deserve it, but thank you. As we parted ways, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pity for her. She had made her bed, and now she had to lie in it. But my priority was my kids and their well-being. I would do whatever it took to protect them from the fallout. That evening, I told Sarah about the situation. She listened, her face a mix of concern and support. Dave, you're doing the right thing. Just stay strong for the kids. I will, I promised, feeling grateful for her presence in my life. The weeks that followed were challenging. Lisa's legal battles were messy, and the kids had to adjust to seeing their mom in a different light. But through it all, Sarah was there, supporting us every step of the way. One night, as we sat on the porch watching the stars, I took Sarah's hand in mine. Thank you for being here, Sarah. I don't know what I would do without you. She smiled, leaning in to kiss me. You're stronger than you think, Dave. We'll get through this together. For the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful. Life had thrown us some serious curveballs, but we were still standing. And with Sarah by my side, I knew we could face whatever came next. So, after the ordeal with Lisa and Mark's arrest, things slowly started to find a new balance. But as life began to stabilize, I realized that the real battle wasn't just external, it was within me. Seeing Lisa in such a vulnerable state had stirred up old emotions. Despite everything she'd done, there was a part of me that still cared about her well-being. It was confusing and frustrating, especially with Sarah now a significant part of my life. I didn't want these conflicting feelings to mess things up. One evening, after putting the kids to bed, I sat on the porch, trying to sort through my thoughts. Sarah joined me, her presence calming as always. Hey, you've been quiet tonight. What's on your mind? She asked, sitting beside me. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. It's just everything with Lisa. I thought I was over it, but seeing her like this, it's bringing up all sorts of emotions. Sarah nodded, her expression understanding. It's normal, Dave. You shared a life with her for a long time. It is okay to still have feelings, even if it is just concern for her well-being. I know. It is just, I don't want this to come between us, I admitted, looking into her eyes. She reached out, taking my hand in hers. It won tea. I trust you, and I know you are dealing with a lot. Just remember, I am here for you. Her words were reassuring, but the internal struggle continued. The next few weeks were a mix of high and low moments. I threw myself into work, trying to distract myself, but it only helped so much. The nights were the hardest, with thoughts of the past and worries about the future keeping me awake. One night, I decided to confront these feelings head-on. I called Lisa and asked if we could talk. We agreed to meet at a nearby park, a neutral place where we could speak openly. When I arrived, Lisa was already there, looking nervous. She greeted me with a tentative smile. Hi, Dave. Thanks for meeting me. No problem, I replied, sitting down on the bench next to her. I wanted to talk about everything that's been going on. I need some closure, Lisa. She nodded, her eyes filled with regret. I understand. Ask me anything. I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. Why, Lisa? Why did you throw everything away for Mark? What did he give you that I couldn't eat? She looked down, her hands twisting nervously. It wasn't about him, Dave, it was about me. I felt lost, unappreciated. I know that is not an excuse, but it is the truth. Mark made me feel wanted, but it was all a lie. I see that now. Why didn't you come to me? We could have worked through it, I said, frustration creeping into my voice. I was afraid. Afraid you'd see me as weak, that you'd stop loving me, she admitted, tears streaming down her face. I sighed, feeling a mix of anger and pity. Lisa, I loved you. I would have done anything to fix things, but you chose to lie, to cheat, and now we are here. She wiped her tears, looking at me with a sad smile. I know, and I'm sorry. I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know that I regret everything. I'm trying to be a better person, for the kids. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of her words sinking in. Finally, I spoke. I appreciate your honesty, Lisa, but we need to move forward, for the kids' sake. She nodded. I agree. I'll do whatever it takes to be a good mother to them. As we parted ways, I felt a sense of relief. It wasn't complete closure, but it was a step in the right direction. I was ready to let go of the past and focus on the future. That evening, I talked to Sarah about the conversation with Lisa. She listened, her expression thoughtful. I'm glad you had that talk. It's important to face those feelings, Dave. But remember, you're building a new life now, with me and the kids, she said, her voice gentle. I know, and I'm grateful for that. I just needed to clear the air, I replied, feeling a sense of peace. The next few months were a time of growth and healing. Lisa and I managed to co-parent effectively, putting the kids' needs first. Sarah continued to be a supportive and loving partner, helping me navigate this new chapter of my life. One day, as I watched Jimmy and Emma playing in the yard, I realized how far we had come. Despite everything, we were happy, we were stronger, and most importantly, we were a family. Sarah joined me, wrapping her arms around my waist. Penny for your thoughts? I smiled, pulling her close. Just thinking about how lucky I am. To have you, to have the kids. We've come a long way. She kissed my cheek, her eyes sparkling. We have. And we'll keep moving forward, together. As I looked at my family, I knew that the battle within was far from over. But with Sarah by my side and the love of my kids, I was ready to face whatever came next. The past was behind us, and the future was bright. Just when I thought things were finally settling down, life threw me another curveball. This time, it wasn't about Lisa or Mark. It was something I never saw coming. One sunny afternoon, I was at the park with Jimmy and Emma. They were running around, playing tag, their laughter echoing through the air. It was one of those perfect days that made all the struggles feel worth it. I was watching them from a bench, smiling to myself, when I noticed a man approaching. He looked familiar, but I couldn't quite place him. Dave, he called out, stopping a few feet away from me. I stood up, squinting against the sun. Yes, I am John Mark S. brother, he said, extending his hand. The name hit me like a punch to the gut. What do you want? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. John looked around nervously. Can we talk privately? It's about Mark and Lisa. I nodded reluctantly and followed him to a quieter spot in the park, keeping an eye on the kids. All right, what's this about? First, I want to apologize for everything my brother put you through. I had no idea he was involved in such horrible things, John began, his expression sincere. I crossed my arms, skeptical. What does this have to do with Lisa? John sighed, running a hand through his hair. Mark kept a journal. After his arrest, I went through his things and found it. There are some entries about Lisa and, well, about you. Me? I echoed, feeling a knot form in my stomach. Yeah. He mentioned that Lisa wasn't just cheating on you for the thrill of it. Mark manipulated her. He knew about your military background, about your PTSD. He used it against you, John explained, looking genuinely troubled. I felt my fists clench at my sides. What do you mean he used it against me? He knew how to push Lisa S. buttons, how to make her feel insecure. He even suggested that you were dangerous because of your combat experience. He wanted to isolate her, make her depend on him, John continued. The anger boiled inside me, but I tried to stay calm. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know the truth. Lisa made mistakes, but Mark manipulated her. I'm not saying it excuses her actions, but maybe it helps to understand why things happened the way they did, John said, his voice earnest. I took a deep breath, trying to process everything. It was a lot to take in. Thanks for telling me, John. I appreciate it. John nodded. I'm sorry for everything. If there is anything I can do to help, just let me know. After John left, I sat on the bench, staring at the ground. The revelation about Mark S. manipulation was like reopening an old wound. I thought I had understood everything, but this new information changed things. It made me see Lisa in a slightly different light. That evening, after the kids were in bed, I called Sarah. I needed to talk to someone, and she was the only person I trusted completely. Hey, Sarah, can we talk? Something happened today, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Of course, Dave. What's going on? She asked, concern evident in her voice. I told her about my encounter with John, about Marcus' journal and the manipulation. She listened quietly, her silence a comforting presence. That's a lot to process, she finally said. How do you feel about it? I don't know. Angry, confused, maybe a little relieved to understand more. But it also makes me question everything again, I admitted. Dave, it is okay to feel all those things. This is a huge revelation. But remember, you've come so far. You are stronger now, and you don't have to go through this alone, she said gently. I know. Thanks, Sarah. I just needed to hear that, I replied, feeling a bit lighter. The next day, I decided to talk to Lisa. I needed to hear her side of the story, to understand if what John had said was true. We met at a quiet cafe, away from prying eyes. Lisa, I need to ask you something. Did Mark manipulate you? Did he use my background against me? I asked bluntly, wanting to get straight to the point. She looked shocked, her eyes widening. Who told you that? His brother John. He found Mark S. journal, I explained, watching her closely. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she nodded slowly. Yes, he did. I was so stupid, Dave. I let him get inside my head, made me doubt everything about us, about you. He made me feel like you were dangerous, like I needed to protect myself. I felt a mix of anger and sadness. Why didn't you tell me? I was scared. I didn't know how you'd react. I was already so deep into the lies and deceit. I thought I could handle it on my own, but I was wrong, she said, tears streaming down her face. I sighed, feeling a strange sense of relief. Lisa, I am not saying this excuses what you did, but it helps me understand. We need to move forward for the kids' sake. She nodded, wiping her tears. I agree. I'm so sorry, Dave, for everything. As we parted ways, I felt a sense of closure. It wasn't a complete resolution, but it was a step in the right direction. Understanding the full extent of Mark S. manipulation helped me let go of some of the anger I'd been holding on to. That night, as I sat with Sarah, I felt a sense of peace. I talked to Lisa. She admitted everything. It's strange, but I feel better knowing the truth, I said, holding her hand. I'm glad you found some closure, Dave. You deserve it, she replied, squeezing my hand gently. Life continued to move forward, and with each passing day, the weight of the past grew lighter. I focused on my kids, my relationship with Sarah, and building a new future. One evening, as we sat around the dinner table, Jimmy looked up at me. Dad, are we going to be okay? I smiled, ruffling his hair. Yes, Jimmy, we were going to be more than okay. We were going to be great. And in that moment, I knew it was true. We had faced the unexpected, and we had come out stronger on the other side. The future was bright, and with my family by my side, I knew we could face anything. After finding out the truth about Mark S. manipulation and getting some closure with Lisa, life began to feel more manageable. It wasn't easy, but each day felt like a step toward healing and new beginnings. Sarah and I grew closer, our bond strengthening as we navigated the challenges together. She was an incredible support, and I couldn't have asked for a better partner during this tumultuous time. The kids adored her, and seeing them happy brought me immense joy. One Saturday, we decided to take a day trip to the beach. It was something we hadn't done in a while, and I wanted to create new, happy memories for Jimmy and Emma. They were thrilled, packing their swimsuits and beach toys with excitement. The beach was beautiful, the sun shining brightly, and the waves crashing gently against the shore. We spent the day building sandcastles, playing in the water, and enjoying each other's company. At one point, I looked around and felt a profound sense of gratitude. Despite everything, we had found happiness again. Later in the afternoon, as the kids played nearby, Sarah and I sat on a blanket, watching the waves. "This is perfect," she said, leaning her head on my shoulder. "It really is," I agreed, feeling content. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Jimmy and Emma ran over to us. "Dad, can we come back here every year?" Emma asked, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Absolutely, sweetie. It is our new tradition," I replied, smiling. We packed up our things and headed home, the kids chatting excitedly about the day's adventures. It was one of those moments that made all the struggles feel worth it. Back at home, life continued its steady pace. The kids thrived at school, making new friends and excelling in their studies. I focused on work and my relationship with Sarah, feeling more hopeful about the future than I had in a long time. One evening, after putting the kids to bed, Sarah and I sat on the porch, enjoying the cool night air. "Dave, I have been thinking," she began, her tone serious. "What about?" I asked, curious. "About us. About the future," she said, looking into my eyes. "I love you, and I love the kids. I want us to be a family, officially." Her words took me by surprise, but in the best way possible. "You mean?" "Yes, Dave, I want to marry you," she said, her eyes shining with love. A wave of emotions washed over me, happiness, excitement, and a deep sense of peace. "I want that too, Sarah. More than anything." We embraced, knowing that this was the start of a new chapter in our lives. A chapter filled with love, trust, and new beginnings. We decided to keep our engagement a secret for a little while, savoring the moment before sharing the news with the kids and our families. But the excitement was hard to contain. A few weeks later, we told Jimmy and Emma during a family dinner. Their reactions were priceless. "Really? Sarah's going to be our mom?" Emma squealed, jumping up and down. Jimmy, trying to be cool but clearly excited, grinned. "That's awesome. When's the wedding?" "We haven't set a date yet, but we'll let you know as soon as we do," I replied, laughing. The next few months were a whirlwind of planning and excitement. We decided on a small, intimate wedding with just close family and friends. It was perfect, a celebration of love and new beginnings. The day of the wedding was beautiful, the sun shining brightly as we exchanged vows. Sarah looked stunning, and as I stood there holding her hands, I felt a profound sense of happiness. This was our fresh start, a new chapter filled with hope and love. As we celebrated with our loved ones, I couldn't help but think about how far we had come. The journey had been tough, filled with unexpected twists and turns, but we had made it through. We were stronger, happier, and ready to face whatever the future held. That night, as we danced under the stars, I whispered to Sarah, "Thank you for everything, for being here, for loving me and the kids." She smiled, her eyes filled with love. "Thank you for letting me be a part of your lives. I'm so happy, Dave." We kissed, knowing that this was just the beginning of our new adventure. Life after the wedding was everything I had hoped for and more. We settled into our new routine, blending our lives together seamlessly. The kids thrived, their laughter filling our home with joy, and for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, I looked at my family and felt a deep sense of gratitude. We had faced so many challenges, but we had come out stronger on the other side. "Dad, do you think we'll ever have any more surprises?" Jimmy asked, his tone curious. I laughed, ruffling his hair. "Life is full of surprises, buddy. But whatever comes our way, we'll face it together." As the sun dipped below the horizon, I knew that whatever the future held, we were ready. We were a family, bound by love and resilience, and nothing could ever break that. After the wedding, life felt like it was finally settling into a beautiful rhythm. Our new family unit was thriving, and I couldn't be happier. But as always, life has its way of surprising you. A few months after our wedding, Sarah and I decided to take the kids on a weekend trip to a cabin in the mountains. It was a chance to unplug, enjoy nature, and bond even more as a family. The kids were excited, and we packed up the car with everything we needed for a fun adventure. The drive was scenic, the winding roads taking us through lush forests and past sparkling rivers. Jimmy and Emma sang along to their favorite songs in the back seat, their laughter filling the car. Sarah and I held hands, stealing glances at each other and smiling. It felt perfect. When we arrived at the cabin, we were greeted by the fresh mountain air and the sound of birds chirping. The kids immediately ran off to explore, their excitement contagious. "This place is amazing," Sarah said, taking in the view. "It really is," I agreed, wrapping my arm around her. "Let us make some memories." We spent the weekend hiking, fishing, and roasting marshmallows by the fire. One evening, as we sat around the fire pit, Jimmy looked up at the stars and asked, "Dad, do you think Mom is happy now?" The question caught me off guard, but I appreciated his honesty. "I hope so, buddy. I think she's finding her way just like we are." Emma snuggled closer to Sarah, who wrapped her in a comforting hug. "We are happy, and that's what matters," she said softly. The trip was a success, and we returned home feeling closer than ever. But it wasn't long before we faced another unexpected twist. One evening, as I was helping Jimmy with his homework, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Lisa standing there, looking worn and desperate. "Dave, I need your help," she said, her voice trembling. I stepped aside, letting her in. "What's going on?" She explained that her legal battles had taken a toll, both financially and emotionally. She was struggling to make ends meet and needed support. Despite everything, I couldn't turn her away. "Lisa, you can stay here until you get back on your feet, but you need to know that things have changed. Sarah and I are married now and the kids come first," I said firmly. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you, Dave. I promise I won't cause any trouble." Sarah was understanding, as always. She welcomed Lisa, setting clear boundaries to ensure everyone felt comfortable. It wasn't easy, but we managed to navigate the situation with grace and compassion. Over the next few weeks, Lisa slowly regained her strength. She found a job and began rebuilding her life. It was a challenging time, but it also brought a sense of closure. Seeing her work hard to make amends showed me that people can change, and that forgiveness, while difficult, is sometimes necessary for healing. One evening, as we sat down for dinner, Lisa looked around the table and smiled. "I just want to thank you all for giving me a second chance. I know I've made mistakes, but I am trying to be better." The kids smiled, and Sarah reached out to squeeze Lisa's hand. "We were glad you were here, Lisa. It's important for the kids to see that people can grow and change." Life continued, and we found a new balance. Lisa eventually moved out, finding a place of her own, but she remained a constant presence in the kids' lives. We developed a healthy co-parenting relationship, focusing on what was best for Jimmy and Emma. Sarah and I continued to build our life together, enjoying the simple pleasures and navigating the challenges that came our way. One day, while we were working in the garden, Sarah looked up at me with a thoughtful expression. "Dave, have you ever thought about having more kids?" she asked, her eyes sparkling. The question took me by surprise, but as I looked into her eyes, I knew my answer. "Yes, I have. I'd love to have more kids with you." Her smile widened and she kissed me softly. "I was hoping you'd say that." A few months later, we found out we were expecting. The news brought a new wave of excitement and joy to our lives. Jimmy and Emma were thrilled at the idea of having a baby brother or sister, and we began preparing for the newest addition to our family. As the months passed, we eagerly awaited the arrival of our baby. The kids helped decorate the nursery, picking out toys and painting the walls. It was a family effort, and the anticipation brought us even closer. Finally, the day came. Sarah went into labor, and we rushed to the hospital. It was a whirlwind of emotions, but when I held our newborn daughter in my arms, I felt a sense of completeness I had never known before. We named her Lily, and she was the perfect addition to our family. Watching Jimmy and Emma interact with their baby sister filled my heart with joy. They were loving, protective, and eager to help in any way they could. Life was busy, but it was also incredibly fulfilling. We faced challenges, but we faced them together. Our family was stronger, built on a foundation of love, trust, and resilience. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, I looked at Sarah and the kids and felt a profound sense of gratitude. We had been through so much, but we had come out stronger on the other side. The future was bright, and I knew that whatever came our way, we would face it together. "Dad, do you think we'll ever have any more surprises?" Jimmy asked, his tone curious. I laughed, ruffling his hair. "Life is full of surprises, buddy, but whatever comes our way, we'll face it together." As the sun dipped below the horizon, I knew that our journey was far from over. There would be more challenges, more joys, and more unexpected twists. But with my family by my side, I was ready for it all. And so our story continues, filled with love, resilience, and the promise of new beginnings. Stay tuned.